Welcome back to Patch and Lukens and Oso on 700 ESPN. I want to take a minute here to talk to you about a young man out in the Spokane Valley named Jace Malek. Already starting to turn heads of college recruiters in the Northwest and all along the West Coast. Plays both ways, so I'm not quite sure which side of the ball he'll end up in college. Defensive end, he's a pass rush nightmare. But on offense, the Eagles are giving this guy the ball. He's tearing up the Great Northern League, almost looking for contact on his way to the end zone. He's simply the best player in the league and one of the best in our entire area, and that's just in football. On the wrestling mat, Jace is expected to get back to the state championship for the 4th time this year, and he's only lost once. I'm telling you, this kid is legit. He's certainly headed to college, and who knows what comes from there. The sky is the limit for Malek. And if that's not enough, he's got one of the coolest nicknames in our area.
Finds the big man Malek again, and watch what he does. Breaks a tackle. Look at him rumble. 250 pounds of sex appeal. He's into the end zone.
Jace Malek, someone to keep your eye on out the valley.
Last score of the game, and Colville goes.
Something we do here at Valley Real Life is we have people throughout our services, anytime they feel led or feel like they want to simply go and write someone's name that they want to see have a relationship with Jesus on our baptistry.
One day in church, they were talking about writing someone's name down and praying for them every day and what a big change that can make on somebody's life. God just kind of spoke to me that Jace was the person I needed to be praying for.
Jace was a wrestler and Libby was a wrestling cheerleader. And they had been friends since they were sophomores in high school. That's when he came to West Valley. And they just developed a pretty strong friendship.
My relationship with God wasn't as strong as it should have been.
Jace has always been interested in going to church, has went to church off and on throughout, his childhood.
He kind of struggled with his faith, if he did have any faith. I believe he believed in God, but never had a relationship with God.
Always talked to him. I'd get to a big 4th down play. I was on defense, and I'd say, Lord, help me make the sack here. Lord, give me extra step in my speed so I can make this tackle. Lord, give me this. Lord, give me that. God was definitely, in my eyes, just the higher power, trying to do just enough not to make him mad.
Our pastor put a challenge out to people to pray for one person for 30 days, and she decided that she would pray for Jace. She wrote his name up on the baptismal.
I just wrote his name down and just continually prayed for him every day that he would fully commit his heart to God, and sooner or later he'd be in that baptistry, getting baptized and committing himself to God.
And she every night prayed for him. And it was probably towards the end of that 30 days that they started to realize how much they really liked each other and started to date.
I wasn't really thrilled about it. I've always told my boys that the prettier the girl is, the harder she is to get along with, so I thought she was trouble right away.
As him and Libby's relationship started to bloom, he started coming around to either our high school ministry or to church.
Youth group was the first time Jace and I really interacted and really became more than just teammates on a football team. We became friends.
I went to youth group with Hunter Lieberg, and they were going to move, and I had no football camps. It was actually the one weekend of the summer where I didn't have a football camp.
Getting Jace to move was actually pretty tough. Initially, it was that he needed to work out every single day because he was working on his scholarship to wherever he was going to go play football. So when we went to CIY, his first goal initially was for football. It was all about football, all about football, all about football.
It was all football. He just wanted to be the star football player, wanted everyone to know who he was, what he could do, and how great he was at football.
As the week progressed on, it was really kind of cool to watch him grow in his faith. I watched him raise his hands in worship a little bit. I watched him actually respond to the message in a way that I'd never seen him respond before.
I watched him a lot during worship, during the messages, and he was really impacted.
You know, he called me on the phone one time in tears talking about, you know, he was wanting to apologize for, you know, giving me a hard time once in a while. And it was a good conversation. We talked about forgiveness real quick. And I knew that something they were saying over there was definitely breaking through to him and causing some sort of a change, maybe not just mentally, but in his heart too.
He will not disappoint. He will not let you down.
One night at Move, there was a speaker there that was talking about a red string, and they used that red string kind of as an example of your life. And the speaker encouraged our students and all the students there to go and take that string and to tie it to the heart if they were ready to make a commitment to follow Christ.
I want my heart to be connected to Jesus.
That was symbolic for me because I was going through the phase where I was changing from being all about myself and all about football to being about God and His work.
I had been hoping that Jace was gonna make that next step with his relationship with God, and then once I watched him get up and go and tie the string and could see the emotions rolling through him and stuff, I knew that I had been praying for that, and that was what I had been waiting for, and that was the next step in Jace's relationship with God. It's just hard to explain. He was just different. Totally on fire for God. Everything he did, he just wanted to glorify God. I saw a total shift in him after CIY.
That was definitely a defining moment for Jace in that moment to begin to understand what a relationship with God looked like.
He was different when we came back. Not only did he grow himself, but he tried to spread the word to others and try to draw people closer to God.
For the longest time, football was the main priority for Jace. He wanted to go play D1 football somewhere, anywhere that he possibly could get there. And now it looked like football was going to open the doors for him to begin to do ministry.
We really started to kind of notice Jace the first time his senior year, beginning of his senior year, because they put him in a position to actually get the football. And once he started getting the football and you have a 260-pound running back, I mean, he was basically dominating from game one.
Just seeing him run for 30 yards down the field and stiff arm some kid and put him on the ground, it was awesome.
That's when you start to realize he's not just a big guy running people over. There's a different level of athlete to this guy.
And you didn't find a tougher player than Jace. That he was a no-brainer, a guy that we wanted to offer scholarship and try to get to come play here.
By the time football season started, I already had a football scholarship offered to me by the University of Idaho.
He was gonna fulfill that dream.
That's what he wanted to be. He wanted to be a Division I football player.
That's when we really knew, okay, this is a Division I football player, and we really started to kind of see him every week on our Friday night football show. Once you become kind of one of the mainstays on our show, generally you get kind of a nickname, and it's pretty easy with Jace because he was just so big.
We were watching the highlights the night that they called Jace.
250 pounds of sex appeal!
And of course, Jace loved it.
It was Jace's favorite compliment that he ever got, so he relived the moment. He won't even deny it. He knows he went on and on about it.
Oh yeah, he loved that, yeah.
Well, I guess he must have thought I looked pretty good.
It's that and wrestling, really. Washington State wrestling is as good as anywhere in the country. If you're near perfect in wrestling, the toughness that takes is something that I can't even fathom.
He went extra hard in wrestling. He went all over the nation.
It was a rare wrestling match that he didn't dominate.
He would come home a lot and he'd be limping. I'd say, Jace, why are you walking like that?
Probably the week before I went to CIY is when I started feeling a little bit of pain.
I remember that first time that Jace complained about the pain, and at the time, Jace said, I took a helmet to the hip. I think that's just why, I'm sore.
I tried wrestling through it for as long and as hard as I could, and I got all the way to the district tournament. And the weekend before the district tournament, I wrestled the state champion from Idaho.
They locked up at the beginning of the first round, shaking each other, looking for the perfect shot.
I couldn't put any pressure on my right hip without it collapsing, and I just couldn't do anything.
He kind of shook Jace, and Jace's leg buckled, and Jace just fell right on his back.
It was a Wednesday. We had the appointment with the physical therapist. We came back and we were sitting in the office with him, and you could just read his body language. You could read the look on his face. He said, Jace, he said, I have some really bad news for you.
Sorry. It's just, you know, it's just hard to talk about.
You know, I just remember feeling like it was so unfair.
And all of a sudden, the scholarship's gone.
There's no way Idaho's gonna sign him now. I mean, Jace can't play football. His scholarship is gone.
I was just praying, just please don't take away my football opportunities. Let me have another chance to play football. Let me be around the football still. Don't completely let my life shut down because of this.
Well, yesterday was a big day for college football as teams all over the nation locked up another class of players.
Petrino recruited the 6'3", 240-pound athlete from Spokane back in January. But this month, the West Valley athlete received some shocking news. Inside Malek's hip, doctors found a large cancerous tumor.
With National Letter of Intent Day approaching, the Vandals had a choice to make, but it was an easy one. They honored his scholarship. Jace signed his letter of intent yesterday, and his scholarship is waiting for him. So now comes treatment, chemo and radiation, something he says he's going to tackle head on.
I'm just gonna get it done. No, I'm not really worried about it that much. I'm just gonna do what I need to do.
You know, it gave him new hope. He knows that he has something, you know, to fight for. You know, he's gonna get back on the football field. And if anybody can do it, it's Jace, you know? I mean, that's just the type of kid he is.
I remember he texted me and he said, I can't wait to be running out on that field with you after I beat this. And it was awesome.
Jace was going to beat it. I mean, here was a young man who was determined to beat anything. And so when we first heard the news, it wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when he was going to beat it.
Chemo was awful. It was days and days of throwing up and fevers, and he was just so out of it. And I would just come to the hospital every day when he was there and just sit there in silence with him.
Jace lost a lot of weight in chemotherapy. He was incredibly uplifting, though. You know, he had great spirits while he was going through chemo, but you could tell that it was taking a toll on his body as well as on his health.
When he was feeling really, really sick, there wasn't a whole lot he could do, but as he felt better, he really started to talk to people about his faith.
He was able to tell doctors and nurses what Jesus was doing in his life. In the midst of the cancer, he was telling them what Jesus was doing.
That's when I really started realizing that probably my goal and my meaning in life was to be a part of bringing people to Christ.
One story I really recall is Grandpa went into his hospital room in Seattle.
My grandpa was never a Christian. He was always very actually against religion.
You know, I'm not proud of some of the things I did, but I mean, that's what it is.
He just absolutely hated Christians or anybody that had anything to do with religion, thinking it's basically religion is for weak people that need some sort of help.
He ran everybody out of the room. He says, I want to just be in here with Grandpa. And it was just him and me, and he said, Grandpa,
I don't want to die and go to heaven and never see you again.
he says, I want you to start doing better. He said, I want you to start reading the Bible, because I want you to be there with me. And I said, Jace, you can count on me. And I'm being true to my word.
After I went through a couple rounds of chemo, I actually got to go down to and be a part of the football team for quite a few weeks and travel a little bit to a couple different games. So I was all hyped up on the football.
He was just so inspiring. He was just so, I think he made everybody around him better.
When you're in fall camp, when you're in the grind of it, it's hard. But when he was around, there was no reason to be upset, because you're like, well, here is this kid going through all this stuff. And we're just playing a game. We're playing football and doing something that he would want to do more than anybody.
The fact that Jace knew that he still had a future down there, a future in football, a future in, maybe playing, I know for a fact gave him drive to fight through chemotherapy, to try to feel better.
I never had any doubt that he would somehow run out here.
The plan was always that they'd go in and cut out this tumor, and then they'd put like a steel piece in it that would make it so I'd be able to be an athlete and be able to run around in 3 years or so.
We thought the doctor was going to take the tumor out, replace some stuff, and he was going to be okay.
It was just a shock all over again. And that one almost hit me harder than the first one did, because I knew then that there was no athletics in the future.
I always knew in the back of my mind that amputation was a very real possibility.
It happened so fast. It was a pretty scary moment. It was hard. It was really, really hard.
It was crushing his dreams of playing college football. It was taking away everything that he had worked so hard for.
There he was on one leg. He was still just absolutely faithful to God and making sure he was telling other people, whether it be teammates, whether it be his friends, his family, or anybody that was willing to listen. He was just telling them who Jesus is and what God's doing in his life.
He was so surprisingly okay with it.
I mean, damn kid just lost his leg and he still had a smile on his face.
His strength through losing his leg surprised us all. I mean, he was determined and he was strong and he wanted to get up out of bed, and he was just really determined to just keep going because he just knew he had to.
He wasn't giving up yet. He wasn't giving up. He wanted his prosthetic so he could walk out on the football field.
I wanted to get back to the football team. I knew the Lord was on my side. He was going to help me get through over this.
After the events of the summer and what had happened, that we could get him here and be in the health that he was to be able to come and be at the first game and lead the team onto the field. Yeah, there was nobody more that deserved to be a captain that day than Jace Malek.
To watch him come out opening day in that cart to lead the team out of the tunnel, their first game in the Kibbe Dome, and to watch his smile as he goes to midfield for the coin toss as an honorary captain of the Idaho Vandals. He was so excited to just be part of a college football team for the first time on game day. And that's an image none of us around here are ever going to forget.
I remember my wife and I just sitting there in tears, knowing that it was such a dream for Jace to have an opportunity to come out of the tunnel.
I knew it meant a lot to him, but it meant a lot for us too, to know that he was there with us.
But we were honored to have him lead the team out onto the field. A captain represents all the values and traits that you try and teach, and who better that had those than Jace.
I just was, in my mind, I was thinking, gosh, this has to be one of the happiest days in Jace's life.
I want to give this game ball to someone that we all love more than anything in this world, the most special kid I've ever been around. And everybody say a prayer for him tonight, and I'm going to give him this game ball. That's Jace.
I remember right after that, I went up to him, I said, "You deserve this. This is all for you, and I want you to know that you changed my life forever."
The legacy that Jace is going to leave is a kingdom worker legacy, where he's taking what God has given him, whether it be football, whether it be wrestling, whether it be cancer. He's taking what God's given him and he's using it to the best of his ability.
I was kind of prayed to God, you know, help me get to college, help me get to the NFL. And every time I'm in an interview after a game, I guarantee I'll put you first, and I'll use that as a platform. But he decided to use me in a different way.
Jace has had a tremendous impact on everyone he's come in contact with. Through all of this, he's had an opportunity to really speak and speak up and speak loudly and speak clearly about who God is.
You could tell by his faith, by him just being around. I knew faith was as big a part of his life, and it really made it a big part of my life.
He talks about his faith. He says, well, you know, I believe in God.
Coming up in a Christian family, the Lord always throws something at you, just catch it and keep going with it, or same thing with football.
How do you have that kind of attitude when you're going through what he goes through?
I've always thought that God puts certain people in your life that probably change the course of your life, and I think Jace is definitely one of those people.
We were all really surprised how much spotlight Jace got after this. But I feel like, you know, if God's given Jace this spotlight, he wants to use it well. He wants to use it to the best of his ability, and hopefully, you know, make God proud.
Who in here likes football? Pretty much all you guys, huh?
He's great on the field, but he's even better off the field. You know, God blessed Jace with this, you know, football talent, but he also blessed him with this really big heart to reach out to people.
So guys, the moral of my story is when you guys get in a tough situation or you guys get somewhere where the future looks hopeless, don't give up on what you're planning to do. Don't give up on your dreams.
It's taken this journey with Jace to realize that there's more to life.
It's because of your belief and because of your confession, Fred, that I have the privilege of baptizing you in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
I recently got baptized, and I feel like it's another step in my journey towards understanding Jesus Christ and the Bible.
You know, he's on, you know, the Facebook, for an example. Thousands of friends. I mean, Jace has been in the spotlight a ton, and he'll post things about Jesus and God.
People who were just telling me about their stories and how I reconnected them with Christ because they saw how strong I was, and how if something like this couldn't shake me from my religion, then it must be that strong. I had people from California, people from Florida, New York, all sending me messages, and I mean, it was just amazing what I could see working and what God was doing, using me as a platform.
And you know, it didn't happen the way that we thought it was gonna happen. But seeing him this fall and seeing everything that he's gotten to experience, he's still living his dream.
Their wedding day was really phenomenal to watch. You know, these two individuals who were madly in love with one another, who've been through so much life together already up to that point, to put a stamp on it and to become united as one.
The one thing about Jace and Libby getting married is it made her a Malek forever.
Libby committed to Jace long before saying I do. She could have walked away, she could have given up, but she has just continually stayed beside Jace and pointed him in the direction of God. And that's why I would say she's just an absolute star in this story. She's gonna be the one that gets to tell Jace's legacy through this when it's over.
I truly believe that God placed me in his life for a reason, and I was thrown into this story for a reason. God telling me to pray for Jace and stuff was just all leading up to this cancer diagnosis and everything that we were going to be thrown into. I had purpose in this, and I was here to help Jace through everything he was going through. God just really opened my eyes to what he'd been doing in my life before that to lead me up to this moment.
Last February, we brought you the story of Jace Malek, and while we knew it was a story that could end a little earlier than it should, it didn't make the news yesterday any easier.
This is not a story of cancer. This is a story of character, of commitment, and calling to kingdom work. And when asked, hey, how can you be smiling at a time like this? How can you be happy at a time like this? He would say, I've got no other choice but to live each day like it is my last. To know the impact and the influence that one young man could have on this community and the surrounding communities is absolutely overwhelming.
You just saw this glow in him, and this guy that loved to compete and loved to play. So happy that God had given him the gifts that he'd given him, and he got to go out there and compete. You know, I think everyone that's in here right now that knows him and loves him, if we could all do one thing for honoring him, let's try to be like Jace.
I've never thought a person so young could inspire you so much. He rattled me and really made me look at everything that I do in my life. And you know what? When I get up in the morning, I get down and I do 25 push-ups for Jace. And I haven't done this a lot in my life, but after the 25th push-up, I get on my knees and I pray. And I thank God for bringing Jace Malek to the Idaho Vandals.
In the last 12 months, many have had the honor to meet this young man, and everyone, our entire sports staff included, has been changed forever. Cancer reminded us yesterday that it does not play fair. It's a disease that continues to take our loved ones away far too early. And while we mourn the passing of our friend today, we can take comfort in knowing that cancer did not beat Jace Malek. He just simply ran out of time.
Everybody has a limited time in life, whether it's 30 years, whether it's 3 months. Every breath you take is a privilege. It's not your right to have that breath. With every single day, give a little bit back to him because he's given to you. With every second extra that God gives you, he's expecting you to do something with that second. He's not giving it to you to waste.